Griffin wind farm in Perthshire will have 68 turbines. It will cost £254 million and take about 4 years to complete.
Griffin is going to be our second biggest wind farm, so it's a very sizable investment. It will generate up to 160 megawatts. It will power a town the size of Perth, but more importantly, it will reduce 180,000 tonnes of coal going into coal-fired power stations to enable the UK to keep its lights on.
It's January 2008. Planning consent has been given, and the challenge of building a wind farm begins, despite terrible weather conditions.
Main challenges in a site like this is actually its location, setting the site up correctly at the start, making sure that we're working effectively within the winter environments.
First, the commercial forestry must be cleared before roads are upgraded and strengthened.
The first thing apart about the construction process is actually sitting down and planning out your operations. At a site like this, we've had to obviously take down 1,000 hectares of trees, so we've had to remove that physical barrier out of the way. After that, then we build out the roads, get ourselves to the turbine locations, construct the turbine foundation bases using our localised batching plant to pour the concrete. We're also within this period putting down electrical cabling and the localised substations, and then our final activity is to actually erect the turbines themselves.
By the summer of 2010, excavation and principal construction begins.
Soil investigation, surveys, will give a good indication of what the ground conditions are going to be, but you'll not know until you actually dig out the hole what you're going to encounter. Water courses, peat pipes, a variety of different things. This site's been very good, nice kind of rock to dig through. Other sites you may be digging through peat, very soft ground. It's the soft sites you need to worry about.
Once the ground is prepared, the foundations are laid to hold the turbines in place.
Foundation will be in approximately 350 cubic metres of concrete, so that gives you about 760 tonnes of concrete with about approximately another 1,000 tonnes of material ballasting over the top of it. So you've got approximately 250 tonnes being held down by 1,700 tonnes of foundation. So it's going nowhere.
As the cold weather closes in again, the site compound is under construction.
The main issue with this project, I guess, has been the weather. We had a lot of snow and the site was closed for a period. We've had a good deal of rain to contend with, and obviously being a wind farm, it can be very windy, which can disrupt operations as we're trying to construct the farm.
Despite the bad weather, work on site continues. As the delivery date of the first turbine approaches, road improvement works at Ladywell Bridge are underway. This work will lower the road height to allow the safe passage of Griffin's turbine components.
One of the major issues is the turbine blades themselves are 49 metres in length, which is half the length of a rugby pitch, so they're sizable objects. We've had to make some fairly major modifications to the public roads off-site in order to allow these to be delivered from the A9 along the more local A roads to the site itself, and the roads on site have to be designed to cope with these long and, in other cases, heavy loads.
And in March 2011, the first turbine is delivered. The turbines can now be built and tested.
Basically there's 3 sections to the tower, each weighing approximately 50 tonnes. The engine room, which we call the nacelle, is just over 82 tonnes, 83 tonnes. The blades are all 49 metres, 12 tonnes each, plus a 10-tonne hub. So it's a big old structure.
The turbines are erected, one by one. It's a precision job.
You're lifting in big components, as I say, 50-tonne lifts, 82-tonne lifts, all very controlled. We just don't take chances with the lifting. It's the 1,500-tonne crane up at 120 metres. There'll be a set amount of wind that you can actually lift in, a limit. We just don't go past that.
By May, Griffin's first turbine has started to generate electricity, and the Griffin Community Investment Fund is open for applications.
The Griffin Wind Farm Community Fund's worth about £350,000 a year, so over the life of the wind farm it could be worth as much as £8 million. That's a huge amount of money, and that goes to support local projects within the communities around the Griffin Wind Farm. And people are welcome to apply to that. The decisions are made by local people on a panel made up of community council representatives and others, and they make the decisions on where that money's spent. I think that's really important. And so you get some really interesting and exciting projects coming forward, and it's really good that the wind farm can act as a good neighbour, if you like.
It's a recognition that local communities are hosting the wind farm in their area. It's to sort of recognise the fact that there will be some disruption during the construction phase, but also to give them a much longer sort of long-term investment fund, so that they can plan what they want to use the funds for, and to do some good in the community as well. They're looking after our wind farm for us, if you like, in the local area, and it's nice to give something back.
It's November and Griffin's substation and feed-in pylons have been completed, and all 68 turbines are up and running.
Griffin generates enough power for at least 80,000 homes.
Each turbine produces 2.3 megawatts and is designed for greater efficiency.
Turbines are upwind, so they're always pointing into wind. The blade pitch is altered depending on the wind speed, which in turn puts torque through into the gearbox, which then turns a shaft into the generator. That generator then turns producing power, which is produced back onto the grid. The turbines themselves, they take quite a hammering from the weather in all weather conditions. They are certainly a great feat of engineering and a fantastic bit of kit to be working in.
By February 2012, the Griffin Wind Farm is complete, but the local community is just starting to experience other benefits.
On behalf of SSE, I'd like to hand over this Land Rover to the Mountain Rescue team.
I believe that the money that SSE bring to your local communities is highly valuable. In a recession where you have money that's very, very difficult to come across, and especially where voluntary organisations and charities really struggle to fundraise money from the general public, donations and large sum donations of £20,000 to a volunteer mountain rescue team is an immense amount of money. A Land Rover and a mountain rescue team allows us to transport team members into remote areas so that we can quickly access casualties who are in need of their care. And a Land Rover of this nature is absolutely essential to the operations to operate in the terrain that we're surrounded in at the moment.
And the community fund is not just used for essential services.
The Burke Cinema has been in Aberfeldy since 1939. It's like an Art Deco building plonked in the middle of the town. It was a cinema until the 1970s, and really at the moment we've turned it back to a shell, and then that shell is going to be renovated into the best, most modern cinema in the whole of Scotland, with state-of-the-art projection, sound system, wonderful comfortable auditorium seating and a lovely cafe bar attached. The fundraising has gone right across the board, from children's pocket money through local people putting a few pounds into a raffle up to sponsoring seats at £1,000. But the SSE funding was important as well, because it came along at a kind of quite a critical point in the campaign to raise the funds, and also it was a demonstration, because the fund is administered by the local community councils. It was a demonstration to other potential funders that there's a depth of support for the cinema within the local communities.
The fund also supports an important local archive.
Well, the Chapter House Museum was set up in 1994 when the church decided to transfer a number of ancient artefacts to a separate trust. And as part of that, it was decided to set up a local archive. An archive was contributed to by local people here in the village. And that has grown since 1994 to such an extent that there's really not enough room now for what we want to do. So the plan then was to move it to a better location. The building we're going to is one we purchased from the local authority, which was a redundant toilet building which has been empty for at least 5 years. And we'll strip it out, and it'll make an absolutely excellent facility because it's right in the centre of the village. It has the side effect of tidying up an untidy corner in the middle of the village too, which has been a bit of an eyesore for a while. The total budget is set at 197,000. SSE, through the wind farm fund, has provided us with 50,000 of that, so it's roughly 25% of the total budget, and that was a tremendous achievement to get that, because it does encourage others to see there's a substantial player giving money to the project, and that helps to persuade others to do the same.
Local arts projects are also supported by the fund.
The project's a rehearsal space based here at Aberfeldy Parish Church, and the idea was to create a hub of activity for young people, mainly between the ages of 12 and 18 for this particular project, and it would involve professional dance tuition, guitar tuition, vocal tuition and DJ workshops.
I wasn't very confident to start with. I got a lot of stage fright, even though I'm behind a desk, but I didn't like it. But now I can quite happily do it in front of a group of folk.
Well, I've managed to get my own radio show on a local radio station, Heartland FM, and I kind of got some of the skills, I kind of carried some of the skills over from this over to the station.
Basically, if we never got the money for SSE, the project wouldn't have went ahead. It's as simple as that.
Another beneficiary of the community fund are the Tay Titans.
The Tay Titans is essentially a youth club, a cycling youth club for kids in the local area.
For the younger group, it starts off with basic cycle skills, balance, coordination, using brakes and gears and so on. And then for the older kids, a lot of them are looking to race, so we look at fitness and more technical skills that you might need out cycling more technical trails around the area.
SSE, they've pretty much just given us some money and said, we like what you're doing and we support the projects in the local area, and here you go, please take the money and put it to good use. And we just try to do as many things as we can with that. The community here really do like to be involved in various activities and things, and we're in a nice rural outdoor setting, and a lot of the parents especially do want their kids to take part in the activities that the outdoors provide, whether it's mountain biking or canoeing or whatever it is. So it is really important to be in the community, working with the local people and giving these kids the skills that they have.
There is now an off-road cycle link between Dunkeld and through to Grantley and Aberfeldy, which you can get to through Griffin Wind Farm and through the forest there.
It's nice to get access to the wind farm area. It's great to be able to cycle in and out the windmills and see what it's all about, and also go back to the previous hill we used to ride on. It's really good to be able to have access to that again.
In June 2012, Griffin hosts an open day for visitors for the local communities.
We can see around me today there's a lot of people who are here experiencing a wind farm for the first time in many cases, and it's good to actually come up and touch a turbine, see what it looks like, stand underneath one and look up, and the amazement in some of the kids' faces as well, seeing the turbines up close for the first time. It's really exciting for them.
I've been really pleased with the day. It's takes quite some organising, but certainly everybody who we've spoken to so far has been delighted. We've definitely taken away some of the mystery of wind turbines, and the weather's been kind to us today.
You hear 68 turbines. What you don't realise is what's required, the infrastructure to put them all in. Coming up here has been an experience, and what struck me is the elegance of it. And I really don't like to admit it, but it is. It's an elegant setup.
I am surprised just how quiet they are. That's one thing you always hear, that they're really noisy and disturb everything, and they're not. You can stand underneath them, hold a conversation, and it's really like the lapping of the waves.
It's nice to have the construction and the engineering guys on site to actually ask them about all their different parts, and actually seeing the wind turbine as well. It was really interesting. Actually, I think it sort of adds to the landscape, which is not what I expected. I thought I'd get up here and think all this sort of infrastructure was quite intrusive, but it's really not at all. It was nice.
The response of people coming to Griffin today has been absolutely fantastic, and that's important because we need to take lessons from projects like Griffin onto the other assets that we want to build in the years ahead. An energy company like SSE will only be successful if it's able to work with the communities in which it operates. It's an issue for future generations. My children, their friends and their children are absolutely going to depend on clean, green sources of energy. And we've made a start with projects like Griffin in what I think will be an ongoing revolution in the way that energy is produced. And I think Griffin is a fantastic example of what the future might look like.